Simon Cowell is known for his tough, no-nonsense demeanor and sharp critiques, but even the famously stoic music mogul was deeply shaken by devastating news about Courtney Hadwin. From the moment Courtney burst onto the America's Got Talent stage, Simon recognized a rare, untamed talent, raw, soulful, and electrifying. Over the years, he became more than just a judge or producer. He became a quiet supporter of her journey, admiring her fierce independence and authenticity. So when unexpected and deeply personal challenges arose in Courtney's life, the news struck Simon harder than anyone anticipated. Behind his composed public persona was a man moved by genuine concern and emotion, revealing a side rarely seen by the public. One that speaks volumes about the bond between a mentor and an extraordinary artist fighting to find her own path. Early life in Hartlepool. A voice emerging from shadows. Courtney Hadwin's story begins in the unassuming coastal town of Hartlepool, England. Known more for its industrial docks and fishing heritage than for producing rock legends, Hartlepool offered little indication that it would be home to one of the most electrifying young voices to emerge in recent years. As a child, Courtney was painfully shy, almost invisible in her school hallways. Teachers and classmates alike would describe her as quiet, withdrawn, and often lost in her own world. She rarely spoke up in class and tended to retreat from social interactions, a contrast to the wild, commanding performer she would soon become. But behind the timid demeanor, a storm was quietly brewing. At home, where the walls held no judgment, Courtney's true nature shone through. Her parents would often hear her singing softly to herself in the kitchen, or humming as she went about her chores. Little moments where the raw emotion in her voice betrayed something much deeper. This wasn't a child mimicking the polished pop stars of the radio. Instead, her voice carried grit, soul, and a rare old soul quality that hinted at influences beyond her years. It was clear to those close to her that this was no ordinary talent. It was a gift that felt timeless. Discovering the stage, a school talent show, sparks the flame. Courtney Hadwin's journey into the world of music began far from the bright lights of major arenas and television studios, in the quiet, unassuming surroundings of a local school talent show. It was a modest affair, the kind of event that passes by unnoticed in most towns. The stage was simple, a fold-out platform set up in a multi-purpose hall framed by plain curtains with rows of plastic chairs filled by familiar faces, teachers who had seen her grow up, parents chatting quietly, and classmates who came to support their peers more out of duty than expectation. At just 10 years old, Courtney's nerves were visible. Her small hands trembled slightly as she stepped forward, her voice barely audible over the murmurs of the crowd. Yet, as the first notes of her chosen song echoed through the hall, something miraculous began to happen. The shy, withdrawn girl seemed to vanish, replaced by a force of nature, fierce, magnetic, and utterly compelling. Every lyric she sang was drenched in a maturity far beyond her years. The audience, initially distracted and chatting amongst themselves, fell silent. Eyes fixed on her, breaths held collectively, as if sensing that this was more than just a school performance. Teachers leaned forward in their seats, parents exchanged astonished looks, and classmates who had once overlooked her now watched in awe. The influence of the greats. Passion over perfection. While many young singers chase the latest chart-topping hits or try to emulate viral stars, Courtney's musical education was rooted deeply in the timeless grit and soul of legends. From an early age, she immersed herself in the sounds of Janis Joplin's raw, bluesy howl, Etta James's heartfelt intensity, and James Brown's electric energy. But Courtney's fascination went beyond mere imitation. She watched old performances for hours, studying the way these artists poured their hearts into every note, how their emotions cascaded out in wild, imperfect waves, sometimes ragged, sometimes tender, but always authentic. It was never about producing a flawless vocal line or fitting neatly into a radio-friendly package. For Courtney, music was about fire, feeling, and the messy, beautiful chaos of real expression. This philosophy became her artistic foundation. She refused to be confined by the conventional idea of pretty or safe performances. Instead, she embraced the imperfections, the raw edges that made each moment electric. Whether performing at local community events, small-town contests, or intimate venues, Courtney pushed herself to break boundaries, to scream, croon, and howl with a voice that was uniquely hers. The microphone was her weapon and sanctuary, a place where she could unleash everything inside. The American Dream, America's Got Talent, and a world stage. In 2018, Courtney took a monumental step. Crossing the Atlantic to compete on America's Got Talent, AGT, she faced a new level of pressure and expectation. At just 13 years old, the sheer size of the AGT stage was intimidating. Massive, with bright lights shining down from every angle, and a live audience that filled the room with anticipation. Standing before the famous panel of judges, Simon Cowell, Howie Mandel, Heidi Klum, and Mel B, was daunting. The quiet, nervous girl from Hartlepool barely managed to steady her breath as she introduced herself. Then, the music began. Choosing Otis Redding's Hard to Handle was a gutsy decision. The song demanded a voice packed with soul, grit, and undeniable power, qualities rare in performers half her age. But Courtney didn't just sing, she exploded onto that stage with volcanic intensity. Her voice ripped through the air, raw and untamed, shaking the speakers and electrifying the audience. Her limbs moved wildly, in sync with the rhythm, wild and uninhibited, as if she were possessed by the spirit of the legends she idolized. The crowd couldn't contain themselves. They jumped to their feet in thunderous applause. Simon Cowell's rare emotional moment. Simon Cowell's reputation is built on sharp critiques and a famously unshakable poker face. He's known for cutting through pretense with brutal honesty, rarely showing emotion in public. Yet Courtney's performance touched something deep within him. Watching the young girl channel decades of musical history through a voice so pure and powerful, Simon found himself breaking character. Later, he confessed that what he heard was unlike anything he'd ever encountered. "That's not a voice you can teach," he said. "That's not showbiz. That's real." These words carried weight, coming from a man who had launched the careers of countless stars, yet rarely voiced such raw admiration. Simon's reaction sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Critics, fans, and fellow artists struggled to comprehend how a teenager from a small English town could possess such a rare blend of power and soul. Courtney Hadwin wasn't just a contestant or a viral sensation. She was a genuine artist with the ability to move people on a profound level, and Simon Cowell's rare display of emotion was a testament to that undeniable truth. The pressure of sudden stardom. In today's digital age, overnight fame can come with dizzying speed, and Courtney Hadwin experienced that whirlwind firsthand. Her audition on America's Got Talent didn't just impress the judges, it exploded online. Within days, her raw, soulful voice had captivated millions of viewers worldwide. Clips of her fierce performance flooded social media platforms, shared by thousands, praised in comments, and discussed in viral videos. For a teenager from Hartlepool, England, this viral sensation was both exhilarating and overwhelming. But viral fame, while powerful, is a double-edged sword. It brought an enormous wave of attention, and with it, intense pressure. Courtney quickly discovered that raw talent alone wasn't a guarantee of lasting success. The music industry is notoriously difficult to navigate, especially for young artists. It is often fickle, with a relentless demand for not just vocal ability, but also image, marketability, and the ability to endure the emotional roller coaster of fame. Overnight sensations frequently burn bright, only to fade just as quickly. The quarterfinals and beyond, proving the power. Courtney's journey on America's Got Talent was never about a single dazzling audition. It was about proving that her extraordinary voice and unique style could withstand the demands of a grueling competition. The quarterfinals brought the challenge of sustaining her momentum. For her next performance, she chose James Brown's "Papa's Got a Brand New Bag," a track synonymous with high energy, funky rhythms, and soulful delivery. With each note, Courtney commanded the stage with fierce confidence. She hit electrifying high notes, her voice exploding with raw intensity, while her wild, untamed dance moves electrified the crowd. Her performance was a reminder that she wasn't just a singer. She was a force of nature, a living embodiment of the spirit of the great soul legends. The audience erupted, and the judges' enthusiasm was palpable. The semifinals raised the stakes even higher. Courtney selected Tina Turner's "River Deep Mountain High," a song that demands power, control, and deep emotional expression. Her performance was spellbinding, each phrase delivered with passion and grit, her voice soaring and dipping with stunning precision. The judges were visibly moved, and the crowd was captivated by the young girl who seemed to channel the soul of decades past with a freshness and intensity all her own. The finale and the unexpected outcome. For the finale, Courtney made a choice that was both courageous and deeply personal. Janis Joplin's "Piece of My Heart." The song was a perfect full-circle moment, a tribute to the artist who had so deeply influenced her style and spirit. When Courtney stepped onto the stage, the audience could feel the weight of the moment. Her performance was breathtaking, a raw, explosive eruption of emotion and power. Every note was charged with passion, every movement full of abandon. The audience was left breathless, on their feet and cheering wildly. It was the kind of performance that defines a career, a moment that could have easily sealed the grand prize. Yet when the results were announced, the unexpected happened. Courtney did not win. The top prize went to magician Shin Lim, whose subtle, mesmerizing illusions had also captured the public's imagination. The decision sparked outrage among fans and critics alike, many feeling that Courtney had been unfairly denied the victory she seemed destined to claim. This outcome underscored a sobering truth. The music business is rarely kind or predictable. Success often hinges not just on talent, but on timing, momentum, and a complex web of external factors beyond an artist's control. For Courtney, the finale was a bittersweet milestone, a reminder that the path to lasting success would be far more complicated than any televised competition. Post-AGT, navigating fame and finding a sound. After the whirlwind of America's Got Talent, Courtney faced the daunting task of defining herself beyond the reality TV spotlight. Rather than rushing to release original music or chase the fleeting viral fame, she took a more measured approach. In 2019, she released The Cover Sessions, an album that paid homage to the classic songs and legends who had shaped her voice and identity. This collection showcased her vocal prowess in a polished studio setting, allowing fans to hear her take on songs she had long admired. However, while The Cover Sessions was a respectful nod to her roots, some fans and critics questioned whether Courtney could successfully bridge the gap from competition finalist to a bona fide recording artist with original material and a distinct identity. Signing with Psycho Music and Arista Records, labels known for nurturing emerging talent, was a significant step. It showed that industry insiders believed in her potential. But the challenge remained. Sustaining a career in a market saturated with talent and shifting tastes requires more than just powerful vocals. It demands a clear artistic vision, savvy management, and the resilience to weather setbacks. The complex challenge of translating raw talent into studio success. Courtney Hadwin's rise to fame was electrifying and unforgettable. Her live performances, bursting with raw, untamed energy and soulful grit, captivated audiences around the world. On stage, Courtney was a force of nature, wild movements, intense facial expressions, and a voice that seemed to channel the spirit of rock and soul legends from decades past. Her performances were visceral experiences, arms swinging, feet stomping, whole body immersed in every note. She didn't just sing, she unleashed a storm, unpredictable and magnetic, that held audiences spellbound. Yet the transition from that fiery live presence to the controlled, clinical environment of a recording studio presented a formidable challenge. The studio demands precision and polish, qualities that often stand in stark contrast to Courtney's natural style. Producers and engineers seek clarity, perfect timing, and a sound tailored to radio and streaming platforms. Every breath, every pitch, every inflection must be meticulously crafted. This meticulousness, while essential for mainstream success, often clashes with the raw, spontaneous spirit that defines an artist like Courtney. For Courtney, navigating this balance was a delicate tightrope walk. She needed to retain the gritty authenticity and emotional power that made her performances unforgettable, while meeting the often rigid expectations of the recording industry. It required her to temper her fiery impulses without losing the very soul that made her unique. This was no easy task, and tested her artistic identity and patience as she learned the nuances of studio work. The unforeseen impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Just as Courtney was gaining momentum and poised for a breakthrough in the music industry, the COVID-19 pandemic hit, bringing the world, including the entire music industry, to an unprecedented standstill. By early 2020, Courtney was deeply involved in studio sessions and the planning of live shows, with her career glowing with promise and potential. Then everything stopped. Global lockdowns shuttered music venues, canceled tours, and forced record labels to delay or rethink album releases indefinitely. For an emerging artist like Courtney, this disruption was more than a pause. It was a seismic shift. The industry she was trying to break into suddenly became inaccessible, and opportunities that had once seemed imminent vanished overnight. Amid this upheaval, Courtney and her record label parted ways. Though the details remained private, the split underscored a stark reality. Courtney would now have to navigate the complexities of the music business largely on her own terms. The pandemic forced a reset, both professionally and personally, pushing her toward independence in an industry known for its demanding expectations. Embracing independence, a new chapter of artistic reinvention. For many artists, leaving a major label can feel like the end of a journey. For Courtney Hadwin, it was the start of a bold new chapter. Freed from the commercial pressures and creative constraints of the traditional label system, she embraced the chance to redefine herself as an artist, on her own terms. Rather than rushing to churn out an album shaped by industry formulas, Courtney took a step back and dedicated herself to experimentation and self-exploration. This period was as much about personal growth as it was about music. She focused on writing original, deeply personal songs that reflected her evolving identity and artistic vision, rather than simply replicating the cover performances that had first won her acclaim. By 2023, this dedication began to bear fruit. Courtney released a string of original singles, including Breakable, That Girl, Don't Live Here, and Monsters. The latter track achieved notable success, climbing to number 19 on Billboard's Hard Rock Digital Song Sales chart, a significant milestone that signaled her emergence as a serious musician with a unique voice. These songs showcased a mature artist skillfully blending rock, blues, and soul, creating a sound distinctly her own. This was far removed from the raw, wide-eyed teenager who had stunned audiences on America's Got Talent years earlier. Reclaiming the spotlight and industry recognition. By 2024, Courtney Hadwin was stepping back into the public eye with renewed confidence and purpose. One defining moment came when she performed at the prestigious New York Pop's 41st birthday gala, an event honoring music industry legend Clive Davis. This performance was more than just a showcase. It was a powerful statement to the music world. Courtney was no longer just a reality TV success story. She was an artist with depth, vision, and staying power. Later that year, Courtney returned to the famed Metropolis Studios to record live versions of her songs. This move was a deliberate effort to recapture the raw, unfiltered energy that had always been her hallmark, a quality that studio polish sometimes watered down. These live recordings marked a crucial turning point, signaling that Courtney was finally bridging the gap between her dynamic stage persona and her recorded music. It was a fusion of spontaneity and professionalism, of raw emotion and refined artistry, growing beyond the teen phenomenon. From the shy, awkward teenager hailing from County Durham, England, who stunned the world with a powerhouse voice on America's Got Talent, Courtney Hadwin has blossomed into a determined young woman intent on forging her own distinct artistic path. The years following her breakthrough were far from easy. The transition from viral sensation to a credible, enduring musician is notoriously fraught with obstacles, particularly for young artists thrust into the spotlight so suddenly. The music industry, with its intense focus on marketability and commercial appeal, often shapes young stars into predictable pop products, or quickly forgets them altogether once their viral moment fades. Courtney resisted this fate. She refused to be molded by industry expectations or forced into a box that stifled her originality. Instead, she stood firm in her desire to remain authentic, even as powerful forces urged her toward conformity. The external pressures were relentless. Some advisors and insiders encouraged Courtney to lean fully into rock, a genre she revered, to position herself as a torchbearer for a revival of gritty, soulful music. Others pushed for a more commercial, radio-friendly sound, something with broader mainstream appeal and less risk. Meanwhile, she contended with the inevitable and often reductive comparisons to iconic figures like Janis Joplin, Tina Turner, and Amy Winehouse. Though these legends deeply inspired her, Courtney was never interested in imitation. She was determined to craft a voice and style that were unmistakably her own. The burden and liberation of original songwriting. One of the greatest hurdles Courtney faced in growing as an artist was the shift from interpreting covers to writing original material. During her America's Got Talent run, her performances were built on powerful renditions of beloved classics, where she could channel established emotions and narratives. But original songwriting is a vastly different challenge. It demands vulnerability, courage, and the ability to translate personal stories, feelings, and ideas into lyrics and melodies that resonate. This creative freedom was as exhilarating as it was daunting. Every song she wrote required her to dig deep, exposing parts of herself she might have preferred to keep hidden. The pressure to be honest and meaningful in her writing weighed heavily, as did the uncertainty about how these new works would be received by audiences and critics. Yet, despite moments of fear and doubt, Courtney persevered. She transformed her struggles, growth, and reflections into music, forging a sound that blended rock, blues, and soul with a modern sensibility. Her 2024 performance at the New York Pop's Gala was a defining moment, proving that she was no longer just a reality TV alumna, but a compelling artist with a distinct voice and an urgent story to tell. The Enduring Bond, with Simon Cowell. No account of Courtney Hadwin's journey would be complete without exploring her unique and often surprising relationship with Simon Cowell, the notoriously sharp and demanding music mogul who first witnessed her talent during her 2018 America's Got Talent debut. Simon Cowell, infamous for his brutally honest critiques and keen industry acumen, responded to Courtney in a way that defied his usual tough exterior. From the moment she took the AGT stage, Courtney captivated not only the audience, but Simon himself. While Howie Mandel famously pressed the golden buzzer in support, it was Simon who watched with an intensity that spoke volumes, recognizing in Courtney a rare, untamable talent. Unlike many contestants who fit neatly into the commercial pop star mold, Courtney was different, wild, raw, and unfiltered. She defied neat categorization and resisted the kind of polish and packaging that Cowell's past successes often embodied. This posed a challenge to the music industry's conventional pathways, but it also offered a refreshing break from formulaic pop acts. Simon's respect for Courtney was profound. He saw in her something that could not be manufactured or coached away, the kind of authenticity that is rare in today's entertainment world. He understood the difficult path that lay ahead, the music industry's tendency to reshape and sanitize raw talent, often at the expense of the artist's individuality. For Courtney, Simon's belief was more than just professional endorsement. It was a rare and meaningful show of faith in her unique artistic spirit. The professional partnership and its challenges following her AGT success, Courtney signed with Psycho Music, a label closely associated with Simon Cowell's business ventures. Expectations soared. Industry insiders and fans alike believed Courtney could become one of the rare true breakout stars from the reality TV world, an artist capable of longevity and artistic evolution. Simon himself invested in her future, not only seeing her commercial potential, but believing in her capacity to grow and endure in a challenging industry. However, the realities of working within a traditional label framework soon became apparent. The highly structured environment of recording studios, with its emphasis on polished production and marketability, sometimes clashed with Courtney's desire for creative freedom and raw expression. Eventually, Courtney parted ways with Psycho Music, not amid conflict, but because she needed the space to explore her artistry without constraint. This decision underscored the tension many artists face between commercial expectations and authentic creative expression. It also marked a turning point. Courtney was ready to take ownership of her career and artistic direction, moving toward independence. Simon's continued interest and long-term support. Even after Courtney Hadwin parted ways with Psycho Music, Simon Cowell's interest in her career never waned. Though no longer her label executive, Simon remained quietly invested, an ongoing supporter behind the scenes. Known for maintaining long-term relationships with artists he genuinely believes in, such as Leona Lewis and Susan Boyle, Simon continued to keep tabs on Courtney's progress, watching her evolution with a sense of personal pride. In interviews, he has repeatedly spoken of Courtney with rare sincerity, describing her AGT audition as one of the most unforgettable moments of his career. For Simon, Courtney wasn't just another reality show discovery. She was a raw, once-in-a-generation talent whose fire could never be mass-produced. He admired not just her vocal power, but her refusal to be boxed in by industry norms. That enduring connection speaks volumes about the mutual respect between artist and mentor, even as Courtney carves out a fiercely independent path. Courtney's gratefulness and forward momentum. Despite the ups and downs, Courtney Hadwin has remained remarkably grounded and grateful. She's never spoken ill of America's Got Talent, the music industry, or her former label. Instead, she consistently acknowledges the platform that gave her global visibility and the mentors, like Simon Cowell, who believed in her potential from the very beginning. Now, as she steps further into adulthood and artistic maturity, Courtney is fully embracing her journey. Her newer, self-penned music reflects a deeper emotional range, blending rock, blues, and soul in ways that honor her roots while showcasing how far she's come. Songs like Breakable and Monsters signal an artist unafraid to be vulnerable, unfiltered, and entirely herself. Courtney Hadwin now stands at a pivotal crossroads, no longer just a viral teen phenomenon, but a serious artist with a clear vision and unshakable drive. Her story continues to resonate because it's about more than talent. It's about resilience, self-discovery, and the courage to walk your own path in an industry that rarely makes that easy. One thing is certain: Courtney's voice, both literal and artistic, is here to stay, and the best chapters of her story may still lie ahead.